Welcome to my advanced class for Chaos Dwarf Magma Cannons. What's changed since 3.0? One major thing only, and that's why this video was a lower priority than others. The range got nerfed from 450 to 380. 380 is still extremely significant, but this means the Magma Cannon is not a win now button against black powder cannons at maximum range. That's fine. We can work with that. Please like, subscribe, and consider donating through my Ko-fi page. I need all the support I can get, and your comments do help. Thank you. The Magma Cannon was deemed to be overperforming, and that's fair. A lot of you guys told me that too. I'd never take an Iron Demon over... Well, Iron Demons are a lot better now, but point taken. That's why the Magma Cannon had its cost raised in single and multiplayer. It's also had its melee damage profile changed so that it's in line with a very weak war machine that might run over a peasant archer or two at point-blank range. And this isn't too important, but mass was raised, like with the Death Streak. Finally, its calibration area was raised from 7 to 15 from datamine stats, meaning that its spread is higher. That was a very tight area to begin with. This is part of the nerfing, but that's to say, that's all that was nerfed. It hits 100% as hard as it did before. It still does flaming attack damage, adds an extra leadership debuff over the base debuff for being hit by artillery, and leaves a patch of lava on the ground to burn your foes. Also, while it's tilted toward base damage, meaning it's most effective against unarmored enemies, it's 260 to 140 base damage versus armor-piercing impact, and 70 to 30 base damage versus AP for explosive effect. I'm saying that it's a far cry to say it's ineffective against heavily armored opponents like Cavalry and Chaos Warriors. You'd love better, but it will still hurt. This kind of low-arc gunpowder style weapon is very vulnerable to bad terrain, and is simply not that good at fighting large single-entity targets, but the buffed Death Streaker will help with that job using its demolition rocket alt-fire. The Magma Cannon exists to deliver efficient pain and agony to infantry formations first, then cavalry and single entities last. Also note, it can and will destroy towers and walls given time. It's not why you brought them, but they're not helpless in that role. Everything else is about adding damage. Hellforge upgrades are simple, so I'll run through them. Barrier hit points are a safe option for surviving at least some counter battery fire. Extra powder is a flat 30% damage increase as long as you're above 80% ammo. Ammo regen only works once, so that's to add one more 30% damage shot. It has no purpose to exist other than that. 15% extra ammo is good, and that's on top of techs, Lord skills, and so on. If you're rocking serious cannons, you want Lord skills helping. Finally, perfect vigor. You want this, you need this, get it. Tired artillery crews fire slower, and slower means less damage going out, and less damage in the battle as a whole if the battle ends within a reasonable amount of time. Also, artillery is slow enough without being exhausted. Infernal Engineer through the Demonsmith, on the ground only I might add, will take away 20% of your reload time, which is a more than 20% buff to your DPS. The late game tech tree Goody letting two Magma Cannons buff each other is just gravy. I also want to add that the Infernal Castellan's deceptively named Extra Powder passive gives 10% explosive damage bonus within a radius, so Magma Cannons will do more damage if that's kicking in. The Lord Tech trees also add more ammo, as I've mentioned, reduced reload, and more missile strength at rank 7. And even without the rank 7 buffs, you can get a max plus 10% range through Hellforged Ordnance. That cancels out some of your range nerf, so keep that in mind. So that's good to know, but how do we get really evil? How do we get black-hearted laughter evil? It comes down to two things: maximizing fire damage and target selection. Fire damage gets buffed with Kindle Flame, fire weakness from Hashut spells, flammable from your Demonsmiths, Lords, or that Wolf Rider Regiment of Renown, or special items. Easy peasy. Target selection got interesting because patch 3.1 changed it, so Magma Cannons can target an area. This means while enemies are approaching, you can hit the ground itself, and more reliably get your lava patch ahead of them. This won't always be useful, but certain maps in the campaign create weird choke points, and then it starts mattering a lot. Mixed armies with foot archers will eventually see the archers stop and start firing at your lines. Most kinds of archer units are relatively lightly armored. Not moving, lightly armored, that makes them food to your Magma Cannons. A shot or two and those units are toast. crispy, burnt toast. It's a bit harder with, say, Jade Warrior crossbowmen, but the principle is exactly the same. I'm not sure what to say about fighting enemy artillery. That's where the range nerf could potentially hurt a lot. You just have to live with it and do your best. As long as you can actually get fire onto your target, the general strategies work wonders. Blob enemies up with lords, heroes, and flying monsters and stuff, and blast away. Taurus units have massive fire resistance in general, so they are ideal in that role. War machines are too armored to take the worst of them. The last thing to say is that the slow speed and low arc of the Magma Cannon means it is a support weapon through and through. It's there to make the job of your other units easier. At some point, you'll be doing too much friendly fire to keep firing, or you just run out of good targets. That's fine. By then, in most battles, the Magma Cannon has done an outstanding job for you. Even one can do far outsized damage, and more to the point, more than one might be a lot of micro you can't afford. One cannon to focus down squishy archer units as needed can take a lot of pressure off the rest of your army. Others told me under patch 3.0 that they took 4 into a battle. That's a big risk if the terrain gods disfavor you. That's why I would start with 1 per army if possible, and then look at the matchup issues. Take care, and have fun blasting away.